When does a natural hazard become a disaster? Contrary to what you might think, it doesn't necessarily depend on scale or intensity. What it does come down to is how prepared a community is to deal with the effects, adapt to the situation, and even transform following catastrophic events. The terms resilience and disaster risk reduction are often used in the same context, but in fact there's important differences between them. Disaster risk reduction, or DRR, aims to reduce the vulnerability of communities to recurrent hazards. This can include things like early warning systems, conducting emergency preparedness training, and building evacuation centers. DRR tends to focus on the most immediate and pressing risks a community faces. Resilience thinking, on the other hand, looks at disaster-affected communities not in isolation, but as part of a broader social, ecological, political, and economic system. It aims to increase the community's capacity to learn, grow, and innovate amidst shocks and stresses, so they aren't diverted from their development path. Central to resilience thinking is the idea that people and nature are strongly interdependent and in fact form one integrated system. With climate-related disasters on the rise, long-term resilience thinking is becoming more important than ever. Flooding is emerging as the most serious climate-related hazard. By 2060, it's predicted that more than 1 billion people living in cities will be in danger of experiencing catastrophic flood events, with cities in India and Bangladesh at the greatest risk. These countries have the highest percentage of total GDP affected by river flooding. Globally, river flooding costs communities $96 billion in GDP each year, and that figure is expected to rise to $520 billion in the next 15 years. At present, around 90% of flood-related aid spending goes towards emergency response, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. But the so-called Band-Aid approach isn't working. Instead, helping communities prepare for a flood before it happens could help them end the cycle of disasters and recovery, and is far more cost-effective in the long term. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to building resilience, but innovation is proving to be one of the keys to success. In the Tigray regional state in Ethiopia, roads are being turned into water harvesting tools by improving the way they're planned and built. This enables flood and drought-prone communities to better control flood waters and overcome water shortages by making it easier for them to collect and store rainwater. This project won funding from the Global Resilience Partnership as part of a competition aimed at finding innovative solutions to challenges posed by natural hazards. This year's challenge, the Water Window, focuses specifically on floods. Technology is also driving resilience. In Asia, flooding destroys around $1 billion worth of rice crops each year. In response, the International Rice Research Institute has bred a new type of flood-resilient rice, dubbed scuba rice, which goes dormant when submerged in water. This project, backed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, has already reached millions of farmers in Southeast Asia. In Indonesia, one of the most flood-prone countries in Southeast Asia, excessive trash dumping in rivers has exacerbated flooding by clogging flood canals and reservoirs. The Red Cross is educating communities on reducing their waste and recycling when possible. They've also trained volunteers in flood-prone areas to lead disaster risk reduction and resilience building efforts, including flood contingency plans and planting mangroves to strengthen riverbanks. These are just a few examples of innovative solutions to flood resilience around the world, but each situation presents its own unique set of challenges. Aging infrastructure, rapid urbanization, and growing populations are just a few problems that will intensify. And with climate change increasing the severity and frequency of flooding events around the world, the need for new ideas has never been more urgent. So what are other innovations that could help communities become more resilient? Follow DevEx's flood resilience coverage and join the #WaterWindow conversation online.